Well, we're talking about bougie brands, so I figured I'd go in with the bougie Michael Kors glasses today. Actually, I just never wore these because my hair was blonde and it didn't match as well as my gold glasses. So now that my hair's brown, these look better, I think, and that's what we're doing today. The name Brandy Melville has been popping up on my front page for YouTube specifically for a while now. Now, mostly when I see their name, it's about controversy and not so much good things, but it still is a very popular brand and has been growing in popularity, even though they've been a thing for a while now. So I got curious and went down a rabbit hole of the business and its history and all the drama surrounding it. And despite all of the controversy, they're still a very successful business and the numbers are only going up. And the things that I found out about this store are really interesting, and I think it has everything to do with the success of its business. So once again, I'm going to be analyzing their marketing and branding tactics from a business perspective, even though I'm completely unqualified to do so. I am not a business expert, marketing expert, psychology expert, blah, blah, blah. I'm simply taking the knowledge of what I do know and things that I've taught myself and learned over the years and applying it to my theories. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Brandy Melville or you've never heard of them like I haven't up until now, there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that later. You should at least catch up on the Dragon Ball Z lore and understand the business's origins. Alright, so Brandy Melville was founded in Italy in the early 1980s by a Silvio Marson? Yes, it is Marson. I can't read my own handwriting. And his son, Stephen Marson, who is still running the business today, I believe. Now, I know you're probably thinking, wait a minute, neither of those names sound like Brandy nor Melville, so where did Brandy Melville come from? So the brand name Brandy Melville was actually created after a fictional story. The story of an American girl named Brandy and an Englishman named Melville met and fell in love in Italy. How cute. So fast forward to 2009 and Silvio opened his very first store in America over on the coast of LA. So their main target demographic was young teenage girls, and they ended up becoming really popular because of their California beach coastal vibe, like teen Malibu, running on the beach barefoot with the salty air throwing through your hair or whatever. So fast forward today, nothing has changed. They're still very popular with young teenagers. And that concludes our history section. What? Did you think I was gonna make like a really long, dragged out section of the history that takes pretty much half of this video? No, I wouldn't do that to you. No, actually, even if I wanted to do that, I couldn't because there's so little history surrounding the business that there really isn't much you can get from them, which also plays a part in their brand and their entire business. But it's fine because you guys don't care about the history anyways. Let's get into the juicy stuff, the drama, right? That's what you're all here for, right? You little gossip girls. So a documentary that came out this year called Brandy Melville, The Cult of Fast Fashion, showcased a lot of the things that the brand was under fire for and a lot of people were talking about it for, such as unethical business practices, racism, fat phobia, and even a report of SA. But all of this isn't even new info, and this isn't even the first time it's been publicly talked about. Kate Taylor, who was a journalist who already investigated them in 2021, pointed out a lot of these discriminatory practices and a lot of these other allegations they were facing. And even when pointing this out and her pleading people to boycott the company, not to buy from them, and that they're clearly a very toxic company, sales still went up. The money that they made went up from $169.6 million in 2019 to $212.5 million in 2023, regardless of all the reports of the store. And despite them being your pretty basic average clothing store, they've really got nothing special going for them when it comes to their clothes. They're pretty much on the same level of like a Lululemon, Zara, Forever 21, H&M type thing. Like, I've seen videos of people like going into the store showing their clothing. I downloaded the app that they have because they just recently made an app and went on their site, looked at their clothes. They really don't have anything super special about their clothing. It's pretty much the most basic teenager girl clothing you find anywhere. So regardless of all this, they're still a very booming and successful brand. Why? What is with the obsession with this brand that people love so much, even willing to overlook the many wrong things that they're doing? You know, it makes you wonder, like, do they have a spell on their customers or something like that? Kind of, yes. And that spell is not Lingar Leviosa. I'm probably still saying that wrong, and Potter's gonna get mad at me for it.
It's Leviosa.
It's actually called value perception. So the perceived value of an item or a brand to a customer is determined by the merit to them, or basically what they will get after what they pay for that item. Warren Buffett, who is the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway and a very well-known investor in the business world, I think he put it best and just very simply as this: price is what you pay, value is what you get. When people see a product or a brand, they normally attach a price to it that they conceive in their own minds, right? Say you go into a store and you need a pack of pens or something like that. So you go to the aisle of stationery and all the pens vary from like $2 to $5. Let's just say that. I have no idea how much a pack of pens actually costs. I haven't bought any in a while. Actually, does anybody ever buy pens? I haven't bought a pen in a while. I just find them laying around or I get them for free somewhere. I mean, there's one literally laying right here. Like, I don't even remember the last time I bought a pen. Anyway, so the pens range from like $2 to $5. Then all of a sudden, you see a pen for $20. A singular pen, like in package, right next to all the other pens that are worth like $2 to $5. Chances are you're going to think that that pen is too overpriced and there's no reason it should be that expensive, or that pen could possibly change your life. If I buy a singular pen for $20, if I write with it, it better, I don't know, get me accepted into every dream college. It needs to get me every single job. It needs to do something, because customers already have a perceived value of what a pen is worth, between like $2 to $5. No pen is going to be worth $20 in their eyes, at least not at first glance. So because we attach a set price to a certain product, businesses have to do everything they can to make their product seem like it's worth it. It needs to seem like it's valuable, and therefore raise that value perception so they can make more money, obviously. There's a video by Starla Moore. She's a manager at an SEO site, like SEO, search engine optimization business thing. I want her to help out with my Etsy store that I'm working on. And she recently made a video of the black pearl, the black Tahitian pearl, I think. I might not be pronouncing that right. But the black pearl, which is generally seen as more rare and more expensive as just white pearls, and how this all of a sudden really expensive and rare pearl that everybody, looks for is like, whoa, it's the black pearl, really wasn't worth anything a while ago. It was actually completely worthless until a man named Salvador Assel marketed them to tourists and even got them displayed by the famous jeweler Harry Winston and got him to showcase it in one of his stores, thus increasing the value perception by customers of this pearl that was originally worthless. If you want to check it out, I will put it in the link in the description. It's a really, really cool video if you do want to learn more about value perception. It's a really cool example. But you get the idea of what value perception is, right? It's the value that a customer attaches to a certain product or brand. So now that we understand that, let's go back to Brandy. Specifically, let's talk about some of their controversial takes as well as their business practices and methods that I found out upon research. So let's start with the most obvious, their one-size-fits-all policy, or what they've recently changed to one-size-fits-most. So their one-size-fits-most policy is exactly what it sounds like. All of their clothing is basically, I think, range from like extra small to a small in American girl size. So like small, really small. Plus size women would not be able to shop there and get clothes comfortably, but I don't even think like a girl who fits into a medium could do it either. Maybe she could squeeze herself into a small, but it would kind of be uncomfortable, considering the fact that the clothes they make are already pretty small. They're like crop tops and, small shorts and stuff like that. So trying to fit into them being a little bigger, they're basically just gonna rip off of you at that point. I mean, I don't even know if I could fit. Like, I'm pretty small, I'm pretty petite, but honestly, the way that I like my clothes to fit, I don't even know if I could fit into them. But I don't really think they would want me there anyway, because they're kind of also racist. Reports have said they only want certain people working for them, or they only want basically thin teenage white girls with like blonde or brunette hair. Those are normally the workers who are outside on the field, like helping customers in the stores, and they have people of color in the back, like slaving away in the back, the packages and stuff like that. When you go onto their store and their website as well, you can see their models, they all have a commonality. They all pretty much look the same. Again, like tan, white girls, long blonde hair, very thin. But something really interesting about these models is that they are not entirely perfect. They don't look like very high-end fashion models. They're very realistic, actually. Like, they don't look super photoshopped. They just look like regular teenage girls. We'll get to that in a second. Keep that in the back of your mind. That's an important factor here. But anyway, so, right, fatphobic and racist, right? Seems like a turnoff, an immediate turnoff in today's age. Seems like a very quick no, horrible, we don't want to work with them, right? Now, keeping my feelings out of this, because, like I said, there is a lot of controversy surrounding it, especially with the one-size-fits-all policy. You know, a lot of people are saying that it's not fair that they do that, and, you know, can they even do that? And yeah, they kind of can. It's their business. They can choose what size they want to make their clothes in. But looking strictly from a business perspective, it would make sense to make bigger clothes for bigger audiences, because that generates more money. And of course, also being a little bit more diverse in their business would also please audiences and then give them more money. So from a business perspective, it would make sense to do these things, right? Okay, let's move on. Remember when I said earlier, if you've never heard of Brandy Melville, regardless of them being out for a while, that's pretty normal? It's most likely because they don't advertise themselves the way that other stores their level do. They do no commercials. I've never seen them on TV. No ads. I've never seen them on YouTube. No billboard promotions or anything like that, or at least not in my area. I don't even know if I have one in my area. That's probably why I don't. I know they have a bunch in LA, which makes sense, or just in California in general. But they don't do a lot of promotion elsewhere except for their Instagram. That is their main marketing and connection with the world, or promotion that they do. The social media presence is really, really big, and they are constantly on their Instagram, as well as working with celebrities or having celebrities wear their clothing, and of course using that for endorsements, and also having their clothing being sold in high-end stores. I think Nordstrom Rack sells their clothing, which typically is like a higher end store. They're pretty expensive. You'll never see their clothes in something like a Burlington or a Ross. And if you don't know what those are stores that normally take name brand clothing and mark them down a bunch. So like Calvin Klein, Michael Kors, Guess, those types of brands, I've seen so many of their clothes in Burlington, Ross, stuff like that, and they mark it down a lot. Brandy doesn't do that. You're never going to see their clothing in stores like that. And speaking of marking down their clothes, they don't do that either. There are pretty much never any sales for Brandy's clothing at all. Like when you go to their checkout page, so I pretended as if I was going to check out, and you can get like a discount code for everything in your cart, like everything you're going to buy. But individual sales on clothing, or like big back to school sale, or a big Christmas bash sale, or a buy one get one free, they don't do that. Their clothes say exactly the same price they've always been. I remember reading at some point, like in stores, they kind of would, I think, mark down some clothes that didn't sell well, but that was a long time ago. I think like 2018, people said that that's when they do it, but they've never seen it happen again. And this is just a tiny tidbit of information. It's not like crucial, but I figured I'd throw it in anyway. They only have 97 stores worldwide, and like 40 of them in the US. So it's not that big of a deal. Like they have a good amount of stores, but compared to other stores who are their competitors, like Lululemon or Forever 21, they have a lot less than them. So something that I want to point out for a lot of their business practices is that there are other stores who do these things as well to maintain their value. Louis Vuitton being one of them. Louis Vuitton is the most valuable luxury brand in the world. Not the most expensive brand, a valuable brand period, but I mean the most valuable luxury brand. And I think they've kept that title for like a pretty long time, a few decades if I'm not mistaken. But the reason why they are so valuable is because they do some of these practices that Brandy Melville also do. Like never putting a sale on any of their clothing, bags, prices, whatever. All of their clothes say exactly the same price. You do not get any sales, none of that. You're too broke to afford that bag you wanted? Too bad. You're either going to have to become rich or not get the bag, because that price is not going down. You will also never see their bags or their clothing in a Ross or a Burlington. Like I said, I've seen so many Guess bags, I've seen Calvin Klein bags, I've seen a lot of those. I mean, they're still luxury brands, but on the lower end of the luxury brands. But you will never see a Louis Vuitton bag in a Ross or Burlington being resold. If you get any bags resold on like Craigslist or eBay and you're thinking about buying it, just know it is either a fake, it is a counterfeit most likely, or it's a hand-me-down. You are not getting a cheaper price on one of their clothing pieces, one of their bags at all. They do not do that. They also don't do a lot of promotion elsewhere, I think, except their social media presence. I don't really see ads for Louis Vuitton either. I don't really see commercials for them. Maybe you guys have seen some, but they are definitely not common for me. And of course, naturally, they've worked with so many really huge celebrities, So they only stick their name to bigger, names. So they don't lower their standards for anyone. But that's because they're Louis Vuitton. They can do that. But then you have little old Brandy Melville over here doing pretty much the same thing, except they're down here. Like, Louis Vuitton is way up here. Like I said, Louis Vuitton is high end. That's why there's such a flex, right? Like, that's why it's actually a flex, because of how expensive their things are. You always hear about rappers, like big chains, big cars, a bunch of girls, and their name brand clothing or their name brand jewelry or whatever. Or they got the Louis this, Gucci that, right? Tell me one rapper you hear talk about Brandy Melville. Oh, got the ice on my wrist, rocking with that brandy. Not the alcohol, but it comes in handy. That was kind of good though. I can't even lie. Anyways, point is, Brandy's down here. Louis up here. But Brandy is operating as if they're up here with Louis Vuitton. So I think you probably understand where I'm going with this. They sell the most basic clothes. There really isn't anything special about them. But they raise their value perception by doing all of the things that I just listed, including the controversial things that they're under right now. A lot of the articles that I read about them, a lot of people would describe them as being kind of like a club. And that's exactly what they're presenting themselves as, this exclusive club. It's giving the group of popular girls at school, like, no, you can't sit with us. Which I guess is pretty on par for their audience, considering it is teenage girls. A lack of diversity in size and race, the lack of promotion anywhere else but their Instagram pretty much, the lack of insight or appearance from the CEO, because he's a mystery. It's just like he never talks and does anything pretty much to the public. All of these things make the brand seem more appealing, seem worth more than what it actually is worth. That's what perceived value is. It isn't the actual value, it's the perceived value. It's the value you feel like you get when you get this product. Somebody cleverly said under my Stanley Cup video, as a matter of fact. I'm probably not going to find the comment, so I apologize, but I'll try to paraphrase it. They were kind of giving, their theory on why nobody really cared about the Stanley Cup after it died down. And they said it wasn't really the cup that they wanted or that they cared for. It was the idea of what the cup stood for. It was what came with the cup, the attention, the allure of it. That's what they wanted. It wasn't really about the cup, which again is another really good example of perceived value, because then the product would not seem as hype or alluring if they didn't get that merits that they got from it. Everything that Brandy is doing is to make sure they seem as exclusive and as high end as they can possibly make themselves, which is why, despite all the backlash of them not making their clothes bigger so they can cater to different audiences, they don't want that. Despite that making them more money, and despite that also getting them on good terms with audiences, right? Because everything nowadays is diversion and inclusivity, which is fine. But I'm sure I'm not the only one who's, feeling like it's a little ingenuine, it's all a numbers game, and politics, which I hate. Politics are part of everything now. It's really annoying, but the point is, a lot of stores are trying to go that route, right? Trying to go the inclusivity and diversity route to get on the good sides of customers, and it brings them more money. Despite that being a tactic that could bring them more money, they don't do that, because if they do that, they sacrifice the exclusivity of their brand. They only cater to certain girls, and they aren't going to lower their standards for anybody else. You're fat? Too bad, because you got to lose weight in order to buy clothes from us. You're black? I don't know, get vitiligo, bleach your skin, figure it out, man. Those controversies themselves add to that allure and that value perception, because it's like, this is how they run, right? They're not going to change for anybody else. They're not going to change to please everybody. They only please a certain amount of people. And then, of course, everything else I said, right? Only advertising on Instagram. Oh, we don't need advertisement anywhere else. We're too good for that. We're too high end for that. Oh, we don't mark down our clothes, okay? They stay where they are. All right, if you can't afford it, that's too bad. We're not going to lower our standards for you. They're holding themselves up to very high prestige, regardless of them being a very basic and affordable store. Remember when I was talking about their models and how they weren't like supermodels? They weren't like these really artificial looking women. They were pretty just real looking teenagers who model for their clothing. I even found a girl who had tan lines on her body. I think she was wearing like one of those strapless tops, and you could see her tan line. And I found that to be very interesting, because on higher end, like model businesses where they have models model for their clothing, I feel like you wouldn't see that. that is very realistic, you know, like a tan line, that's realistic. They would edit that out, Photoshop that out, blend it with the rest of her skin. They wouldn't have that. But they did. They had this girl with a tan line modeling for her clothing. The idea of that is like this so close but so far away type of value perception. Like I said, their clothes are pretty affordable, actually. I was under the impression that they were going to be super expensive, and that would have just made things worse on why they're so overhyped. But no, their clothes are actually pretty affordable. Their models are not super artificial looking, they're very natural looking. And this is kind of like that. Do you see like how close you could be to being one of us, to being exclusive in our club, right? They don't make anything too expensive. They don't make anything too unrealistic. It's more realistic than other brands. It's like, see, like look at how close you could be, like how close you are to becoming one of us, to being a part of this exclusive brand. And then when you come in, it's like, oh, sorry, you're not really our type. Yeah, you might want to go down to the H&M over there. They might be a little bit more your speed. It's not supposed to be like super high end like a Louis Vuitton, where it's like literally only the upper class can afford it, comfortably at least. But it isn't low end either. It's not for the lower class, you know, the peasants. Like, no, we can't have them shopping here either. They have it just in the range where they want it. So all the teenage girls who are in that kind of middle upper class-ish economic class, they can afford it, right? They can fit into that club. It reminds me of this video that pops up on my recommended YouTube page every now and then, and I love watching it every time it comes back up. It's a video from the News China Post, the China's New Post, something like that. It's a YouTube channel that posts like popular Chinese trends or Chinese news and stuff like that. And it's a video of a college student for a project. She ended up pretending to be a socialite for like 21 days in Beijing, China. And for 21 whole days, she got to eat for free. She got to sleep in the hallways and the lounge rooms of really expensive hotels. She got to try on expensive jewelry. She got to do all of this stuff that a normal person most likely would not be able to do. Oh, by the way, a socialite is someone from a wealthy background and is normally very well known in high society. They attend events and stuff like that, and they have a lot of social influence. Just in case you didn't know what a socialite was, because I sure didn't before I watched that video, I had to search it up. She pretended as if she was this, you know, high-end, really wealthy woman, when in fact she was just a college student, just like me and a whole bunch of other people. And yet because she raised that value perception of herself, when people viewed herself, because she said she studied the way that socialites dress, act, talk, she did all those things, did her makeup exactly the way that she, you know, saw them doing it, and boom, everyone's perception of that girl was like, ooh, that's an important woman. I should offer her food. I should offer her drinks. I should let her wear expensive jewelry. They tried to get on the good side of her, not realizing that she wasn't some rich socialite, but just a regular college student. But she carried herself in a way that was perceived as if she was this upper class girl. And that is exactly what Brandy did. They created this image that is way higher than who they actually are. All of those exclusive tactics are meant to present themselves higher than they actually are. That's why they don't change them. That's why, despite controversy, they don't change their clothing policy. They don't add more people of color, because then they would not be Brandy Melville. Then their brand would crumble. That is their brand, to be exclusive. They don't lower their standards for anyone. They keep with the people, the target audience, who they want to please. And that ideal, I think, is the biggest allure with teenagers, because like the example I gave earlier of the popular girls at school, you can't sit with us, there's nothing special about these girls. They're all like basic, regular girls at school. But because everybody else is so hype about them, whatever, you want to join that club, right? You want to be in the cool girls club. And teenagers today are still very much so like that. I'm not ridiculing any teenagers or saying that, you know, they like to look down on people, but I'm saying that's the allure. Because of how exclusive they are, they want to be a part of that club. They have to stay consistent with their ideals in order to keep their brand. They can't do what Forever 21, H&M, Lululemon, Zara, they can't do all that because they're not like them. Brandy Melville's image will be destroyed if they try conforming to the new business standards or things that are expected of them, which is why they refuse to change and why they refuse to address anything about it. They're still doing well. Like I said, I gave you the stats. Their numbers are only going up. And of course, I couldn't see like how much money they made this year so far. All the things they give you, you know, the money they made in the last previous years, including 2023, but 2024 is still going, so you can't really see how well they're doing as of right now. Now, after this documentary came out, Brandy Melville, I'm curious to see what happens. I'm gonna just say right now though, I don't really think it's gonna do much, because like I said, this is not the first time that somebody's addressed what they've done and people still buy from them. I mean, as long as people can get their clothes, at the end of the day, it's really not like a big concern of people. And I'm not here to ridicule anyone or tell them what to do or where to shop from. You know, everybody can have their own personal feelings on certain stores and where they want to buy or where they don't want to buy. I know a lot of people, you know, especially like to think that like, oh, you know, people just don't want to shop there because they want to feel like they're some hero, that they're higher than everybody else for doing the right thing. It's not so much that. I mean, it depends on the person. Like, if they're constantly going to you, ridiculing your choices, they probably do want to make you feel lower. But for a lot of people, it's just a personal choice of, this just doesn't match my morals and ethics, and therefore I do not stand with it, so I won't shop from them. But I'm not going to sit here and call you a bunch of names if you still choose to buy from Brandy or other brands who are under fire for certain things. I think all brands and stores have some type of contribution to some negativity in this world. I'm just saying, like, when things are presented, I mean, take Temu and what is it called, Shein and stuff like that for perfect examples. It's like, it's kind of convenient, it's cheap, it's affordable, so for a lot of people it's just better going there. I don't see it being something that is gonna like tank and plummet their sales and just ruin their business entirely, but I don't know that for sure. You know, I'll be watching. I guess I'll try watching their Instagram more than anything to see if like the numbers go down, people stop following them, stuff like that, because like I said, I can't see their sales and their revenue yet until the year is over. So next year I think it'll be something to look forward to, seeing whether or not all of this information that came out actually did anything to their brand. I don't think it will, because like I said, that is their brand. That exclusivity, that controversy, that's all a part of what they do and what makes them Brandy Melville. And that, my friends, is value perception. I cannot see without these on right now. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I just found it to be very interesting, and hopefully you will too. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.